recently uploaded a short video about a little trip I did on the lake, and in it I showed a little clip about how I attach my short shaft outboard to the boat. This has generated quite a bit of interest, and I've had quite a few comments about this, asking for more information and more of a close-up view about how it works. So this little video is just that. My reason for doing it this way is that I already own the outboard. I didn't want to buy a new one. I didn't want to bolt a outboard bracket on the beautiful transom of the boat. And although the motor isn't very heavy, I didn't really feel I wanted the weight of the outboard hanging off the stern of the boat. I was quite excited when I built the boat that I found that this void in between the two buoyancy tanks was a perfect size to fit my little 2-horse Yamaha outboard, and just by chance I found that also the outboard bracket fitted in here as well. And I find that I can leave the outboard in there and still step the mast and take it down again. There's plenty of room. The outboard is held in place by a bungee with a little clip onto a saddle there, and that's attached to the forward inside of the forward bulkhead there. So there's a small adaptation that I made to the outboard. I found that it was quite difficult to lift the outboard from here because it tends to tilt up. So I've used a piece of bilge pump hose and just used that to make a handle, and lifting right from this point here, it balances really nicely to lift it. And I just had to put a cover over the bottom of the outboard casing because of the bolts here tended to catch on my knuckles as I was lifting. So this funny looking thing is my outboard bracket. This is the inside face of it, the face that sits on the inside of the boat, and this is the top of it that sits on top of the gunwale, and then below that, this piece of timber here is an offcut from the timber I used to laminate the gunwale. So this is the same depth as the gunwale itself. So this end, this pin fits through the rollock hole, and this end fits behind the mooring cleat on the inside of the gunwale. I have a wooden toggle here that rotates to fit inside the gunwale, to fit underneath it, to hold it down. And this pin was a piece of copper rod that I got to make the pivot bolt for the centerboard, and this is a piece that left over from it, and I made a little clip, and that fits through a hole in the bottom to hold it down. So this is where it fits, and when I was young it was impressed on me many times that space on a small boat was precious, and as far as possible everything on a boat should be able to do at least two things. So here we're using the mooring cleat and the hole for the rollock, and reusing them for the outboard bracket as well. So the aft end of the bracket fits in just here, inside this horn of the cleat, and don't know whether you can see, but at the aft end of this piece of timber here that fits inside, I've actually beveled that off, so that's quite a tight fit to fit into the cleat, and the pin is up here that fits into the rollock hole. One of the slightly worrying things about building the boat from the kit was that I found once I finished I had a box of quite interesting bits of plywood left over. There were a couple of these little bits of 18mm plywood that was supposed to go on the boom where it came up against the mast, but I didn't use them. But I love the shape of this piece of wood, and it was this that was the inspiration for the design for this little bracket, because I found that it fitted very nicely up against the side of the boat, and so that's what I used to use as the bracing piece of timber against the part of the bracket where the outboard bolts on. So if you want specific dimensions, this is 560 along the top, and down below that's around 400, just under 400, and it sits down from the gunwale, just measuring from the top of the gunwale down is 185. So strops on there, and this little piece of wood here is quite handy when you're reaching over the side, because you can find that edge quite easily, and just clamps up there. And she'll still tilt up, but it will. She has got some movement there, but I steer with the rudder rather than with the outboard. So when I was working out the measurements for the bracket, I just held the outboard up against the outside of the hull and sort of sighted where the propeller would go to be well enough under the water, and it worked out that the top of the outboard bracket was about level with the bottom of the top strake on the hull.